With so many elements in Genshin Impact, we already know what the strongest ones are, but what one is the weakest? And no, it's not Geo, all right? Today we're going to be tackling the weakest element in Genshin Impact, the one that needs to get a buff at some point in the future. We're going to be tackling this not based on what characters are good of element. That is not what we're talking about here today. We're talking about the element itself. What does the element do, and what actually does it not do? What are the element bonuses for having resonance of that character? What artifact sets exist to help that element kind of flourish in what it does? And let's get right off the bat here. The big three in Genshin Impact, the big three best ones, right? We have Pyro, Cryo, and Hydro. These three elements are insane because they are interacting with each other in the forms of some of the most powerful reactions in the game. Melt, Vaporize, and Freeze. They're the three big ones that you want to apply. Does doing double damage sound good to you, or 50% damage for free, or maybe hard locking your opponent down just because you can freeze them no matter what size they are? Yeah, they're good. The big three also have some of the best artifact sets that you can even think about putting on a character in Genshin Impact, right? We have the Witches set for Pyro. We have the Freeze set for Cryo, right? We even have a Hydro set for Hydro based on a couple of characters out there that a lot of people like to use. Very strong stuff there. And on top of that, the big three also have some of the best party resonance bonuses in the game. Two very, very strong ones. Double Cryo, free crit rate. Double Pyro, free 25% attack. Double Hydro, we could work on that. Healing up, not that useful. But with all those other things in conjunction, good sets, good reactions, good resonances, they are by far some of the best elements in Genshin Impact. Now, those have all of those nice utilities, but a lot of the time, they're focused on helping your team, the elements is, do more damage between the reactions, between the sets. The other two here, we have Anemo and Geo, are very, very strange because they don't really do the same sort of stuff, but they are very supportive, but in opposite ways. Anemo here does not have the craziest reaction in the world. It has Swirl. It's nice. It spreads the element on the enemy already. Pretty nice and interesting stuff you can do with Swirl there. That is the strength of Swirl, spreading the pre-existing element. You have Pyro on something, swirl it, Pyro's on everything now. Now you can start doing extra reactions. On top of that, the sets that you have for Anemo really are not that crazy, except for the one that props it up. This one, the Viridescent set, is the Anemo set, and it really makes Anemo good because of the Swirl bonus here to lowering enemies' resistances to the swirled element by 40%. This is where Anemo is usually propped up in, whether you're using Venti or you're using Sucrose, you're having a good time there. But it also shows you sort of the weakness of the element because it's so supportive in these aspects. Between the set and Swirl, you have Xiao. Xiao doesn't really have a good set. You're kind of running around trying to look for something for Xiao because Xiao is a full-on DPS character. You can't swirl Anemo. You can't use another Anemo character to reduce Anemo resistances. You're kind of locked for Xiao on having big constellations for some of these Anemo supports to even get some Anemo resistance down on your enemies there. But it is still a very strong element propped up by the Viridescent set bonus. On top of that there, if you are a Dragon Strike champion, double Anemo gives you that 10% move speed buff, so you can do that Dragon Strike technique, which is something that you can do there. But what about Geo? Geo, what does Geo do? So it has Crystallization as its reaction. Very, very underwhelming in a lot of situations. You pretty much have to be attacking something that is the same element type as the element damage that it's doing. So you need to do Pyro damage to something, and then that character has to do Pyro damage back to you for it to be all that useful. But another thing that Geo does do very well is support aspects as well on some of their characters. So we have Zhongli, we have Noelle. Big shields help you survive and also can increase your DPS. If your shield is so big that you don't need to dodge anything, then in a 30-second fight, if you no longer have to dodge for 5, 6, 7 seconds because you have that big shield on, that is 5, 6, 7 seconds that you have to just do additional damage. And that got very buffed up in patch 1.3, where Geo shields have a bonus effectiveness and resistances against everything, physical in all elements. So that is a huge buff there. On top of that, you have Enduring Rock that got changed as well in 1.3, and those two changes really buffed up Geo to becoming kind of a monster that it is right now when used properly. It gives you 15% shield strength, 15% damage up, and free Geo resistance down by 20%, which was one of Anemo's thing, but Geo's a very selfish element, so it gets a very good debuff, but only for itself, whereas Anemo can debuff anything by 40 using the Viridescent set, except for itself. So it's a very giving element. So they're both good for opposite reasons, and that's a very fun fact to know. And while not every Geo character can give a shield, if you have a Geo character in your party that has a shield and someone has the tenacity of the Milla set on, you're gonna have even bigger shield. So it's another set that works well in that ×2 Geo team. You got that Geo Resonance, Geo Imperil, and now you're going to have a 3-second buff for 20% attack and 30% shield strength that can be reapplied every 0.5 seconds by the set holder, even if they're not on the field, as long as they have something like Oz or Zhongli Pillar or Albedo's Flower. Any character that has a persistent elemental skill that does damage can use this set in conjunction with a Geo team or someone with a big shield. That is very, very, very powerful. Those elements have a lot of stuff going for them in one way or another. And this brings us to our final element, Electro. Now, what does Electro do? Now, Electro's elemental reactions, you have Electro and Pyro, which is Overload. Good early game, but the damage very, very, very quickly falls off in the late game because it's only influenced by your character's level and elemental mastery. Whereas other such things like Melt and Vaporize, they're based off of how much damage you're doing to the boss, and you get a raw bonus on top of that. So if you do more damage, you do more damage with the Mount, you do more damage with the Vaporize, which means since your attack scale with crit chance, crit damage, attack percent, so by proxy does those other reactions, which is very, very powerful. And that's why they are top with the tier list in reactions, whereas Overload doesn't do it. Other things that we have access to, right? We have what? Electrolyze, right? We have Electro plus Hydro for Electrolyze. Same problem as Overload. It's based off of your EM. It's based off of your level, not your attack. No crit chance, no crit damage. You can't do big damage with these damage reactions because they're just not coded to allow you to do that, which leaves you with the one good one that they do have, Superconduct. You know, the official here in front of us, we've seen her before. She's constantly in a lot of Superconduct teams. If you're using, we'll probably see her more with Eula in the future, a Superconduct physical character who is also not Electro, not Razor. So you'll be seeing a lot more use from that. But what other things does this element have going for it, right? We just talked about 2 bad reactions, 1 good one for physical teams. We'll give them that. What about sets? Their set, Thundering Fury. 15% Electro damage, that's cool. But then it increases the damage by Overload, right? In Superconduct, in Electro Charge by 40%. All 3 of these have very bad late game damage, and then triggering such effects decrease your elemental skill cooldown by 1 second, which could or could not be good for your team there. Generally, most people don't even use this because it's almost insignificant on a lot of characters, so people opt to use some other 2 pieces like the Gladiator set just to get that extra 18% attack. They don't really have a good set for them to use and abuse quite yet as an element in Genshin Impact. And last but definitely not least, and it deserves a mention here, High Voltage. Having 2 Electro characters in your party is almost worthless. So you take 40% less duration from Hydro when it's on you, Superconduct, Overload, and Electro Charge, which are all terrible reactions for damage, but at least you can Superconduct. But hey, at least you have the 40% physical resist down from Superconduct. Have a 100% chance to give you an Electro Elemental Particle cooldown every 5 seconds. 1 particle, 1 Electro particle, not an orb, a particle. That's your double post bonus there. Compare this to other ones, right? Shattering Ice, free 15 crit. We have Fervent Flames for 25% attack, Enduring Rock for the Selfish Geo team. The only one that's pretty much as bad as this one is Soothing Water. Healing increased. No one really cares too much about that. At least double Anemo gives you that movement speed to Dragon Strike or just run around the map faster. Please do something with this High Voltage. It's so bad. For all of those reasons and rationale, Electro is by far the worst element in the game. And if you take a minute to think about it, Electro's the only element to not get a brand new character 4-star or 5-star since the launch of the game. This is almost over. Actually, I think it is over. Half a year by now, still no new character. We still just have our girl Fischl, we have Lisa, and then we have young Kaching out in here doing work. Where's the new characters for Electro? Is it because they don't know what to do with this element? Because like we said, you can have good characters in a bad element. It's just hard to design characters for a bad element. They kind of just don't care that they're that element. sort of thing. So that is something to take away too as well, right? We might not see a new character that's Electro until Inazuma. Will that have an Electro rework? Will we see a new set for it? That's all conjecture and possibilities that we could see in the future here, but Electro definitely needs some love. It definitely needs some work. It has no sets. Its reactions, for the most part, outside of the Fizz Down and Superconduct, are garbage. In fun fact, that was nerfed in the beta. It used to be defense, but now it's only physical down. So they got a nerf on top of that. And then the reactions, bad. Resonance, bad. And no sets. Bad, bad, bad. So that's going to be Electro is definitely the worst element in Genshin Impact. Let me go what you guys think about what the worst element actually is. It better be Electro. I'm kidding. But until then, guys, have fun out there. Subscribe for more stuff. Smash that like button. All you guys coming back for more, do it. It's the best way to help us out and grow the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys.